Hello everyone, welcome to the detailed showcase of the Waterfall temple. I also intend to do somewhat of a build diary to look back of how I built this and to take a look at the earlier versions of this when I built it, my old backups, so you can see it in progress. This build was featured in the Homestead trailer, the S Plus Beta / Homestead trailer. Which I'm really happy about. I'm honored to be part of that. I'm glad Wildcard liked this build enough to include it, and I'm really happy that other people seem to enjoy it as well. So I figured it would be nice to show some more details on this build, since that Homestead trailer and my own showcase of this build wasn't really that detailed. So you can take a look at some of the more intricate details and maybe get some help if you want to try and build something like this yourselves. To start off, I did build this with the intention to actually include it in the Homestead trailer when they made the announcement. I figured that if I built something with a lot of triangles, it would be good to showcase, since that's one of the major parts of the S Plus that was included in the Homestead beta. And I went for this Asian theme temple, featuring a lot of triangles in various patterns and in various shapes. I think it turned out great in the end. So this location, it's on Ragnarok. It's a part of the map that I always really liked ever since I set foot on this back in the official days. Really scenic environment. You have all of these huge views over these mountains over there, and over these waterfalls. So it's a really nice place to set up a base, I think. So I saved this spot, and when I figured that I would try and do something that should be able to become a part of a trailer, I thought I might as well use this spot now. And I started with just mapping out a rough idea of where I wanted this build to be. Originally I was thinking to actually include this part of the area as well. And I actually did build a building here, but I ended up scrapping it. You can see it here on the screenshot. I ended up scrapping it because it took too much focus away from the main building, I felt. It didn't really serve a purpose. But I knew I wanted to have some kind of big tower here, and that the build should include most, if not all, of this rock here. So it's essentially roughly the size that I intended, minus that building over here where the wyvern is standing. I started the build down here. This is the first tower that I made. I wanted to try different things in order to find out what could actually pass as some kind of Asian themed building style. And this is what I came up with. I did a lot of painting tests on this one, where I found something that I was happy with. And that once I was happy with that, I painted the whole thing several times as well, actually, in order to try and find a theme that fit this build and that looked okay. I find painting stuff really difficult in ARK. It's hard to find something that suits the build and that actually looks okay. I really don't actually like this shiny type of wood that you get once you paint them. It looks a bit unnatural to me, but I really felt this build needed to be painted somehow. I got a lot of help with choosing the color palette for this from my friends Captain Fat Dog, Interregions and Eternal Fox, who helped me with the brainstorming here to find the pattern and the palette that worked. Also, in this early stage of the build, I took the decision to try and keep the ceilings as stairs, as you can see. It's fairly consistent throughout. I only use those as stairs, or rather as roofs, ceilings. Every time there's a slope. It looks really nice, to me at least. Turned out great. And I mix it together with ramps like this, where I want something to stick out. It's really important, I think, to keep consistency in a build, meaning that you get some kind of pattern or style and then you keep that throughout the build, but not keep it too similar because then it becomes a bit boring. But as you can see here, I combine the triangles and the stairs as ceilings throughout the build. For some reason, I don't know why, I always try and incorporate so that you can walk all along an actual build. I guess it feels a bit unreal otherwise if you can't reach every part of a build. Maybe it's some kind of legacy from my official days. This is not as functional as a base might have to be if you were actually playing on this. But you can at least get everywhere on foot if you needed to. Some of these building things are fairly elaborate, such as the stairs down here, where you can actually walk or climb all the way down if you want to. In the various levels of this internal structure here. Takes a lot of space to do stairs like this and it's not that practical. But since this was intended as a showcase build, I figured I might as well. Also installed some toilets. And this connects out on this level to the area which I showcased earlier, where you can walk across this river. I always intended this part to be some kind of a courtyard, some kind of tower structures. It turned out fairly okay, I think. These are just regular triangles in this pattern right here. And this is fairly interesting. It's a combination of railings and double door. You use the fence foundation in the same way as you do if you do the layered walls. But here I combo a railing with the double door frame. So I keep that throughout. It becomes a bit more of an interesting railing, together with obviously regular pillars. This is some kind of a lookout tower. And another stairwell going up. I kept the amount of artifacts on this to a minimum. I only used these red ones, I believe. Sparsely placed all around this build. And other than that, it's just torches, and for this main building there's some electrical lights as well. On this side we have a little balcony. Now this is fairly intricate. This is a circular staircase, which is built on top of the cliff platform here. So this has basically 2 layers. You have a walking path that goes around here with storage that goes up and meets this circular pathway on the other side, which then leads out to this area over here, which then has a stair that goes down here where you can get underneath the actual platform. There's a double level here where there's a generator hidden inside to be able to power these things here. And this circular staircase then leads up to this area, which has another generator and storage, which then leads up to the main building on top of the tower, which has this light detail over here, where it's a lamp basically. You guys might have seen this design before. I used it in one of my medieval houses once upon a time. I think it looks good. Now we're up in the main structure up top. This is kind of like the main area where you have your fabricator and chem bench and stuff like that, if you were to actually use this as a base. And then we get into this area, which is yet another tower, which has another spiral staircase. This one is made with these double door frames, which makes it really see-through and airy, which I like. And it has both an artifact and light at the very bottom. And up here is the bed. And some storage. There's a light here which is currently not on, but this pipe here is for the centerpiece up top here, which is a reservoir, which is in the center of all of these structures, of the ramps. And there are some triangular greenhouse glass ceilings here, just as a little detail. Now we are in the night time. I have not any electricity out here on the edges, but I have plenty of torches and artifacts to keep this place lit up. But in here on the main area I do have lights. You can see here. They are colored. Some of them, not all of them, to give it more of a yellow look to fit better with the torches. But the internal lights inside of the building is just natural. They haven't been painted. As an extra overkill kind of detail, I colored the dinos in mainly red and black. Red, black and white. To fit with the theme of the building. This is not something you can do unofficially, you need to use the admin commands for it. But I figured why not go the extra mile. Same with this wyvern, black and red. And the griffins up top here as well. And of course the Quetzal over here. I really wish this could be done in-game as well, the regular one on officials. That these colors were present, but I don't think they are. Not on all dinos anyway. I tend to use catwalks a lot to add detail, as you can see here. These ones are painted in slate. I'd like this little ring around, just to break up the pattern a little bit. The same way I did down here. Added these little white catwalks just to help with the contrast between these layers. I've also left some stuff unpainted, such as this circle or ring around the main building. I kept those stairs unpainted compared to the rest. It helps with the contrast, if you look at it from a distance, to separate the red parts and the wooden parts. I've had those red also in one version of this, but this looks way better because it separates it. It doesn't become too cluttered, I think. Okay, so let's go back in time and see how this looked when I was building it. Right, so we're back in time. As you can see, there's a lot of things that hasn't been built yet. I have only painted this little section down here just to give it a test run to see how it will look. The rest of this is still unpainted and also undecorated. There's a lot of details down here that isn't done yet, such as pillars on each side of this, and a lot of details up here as well. Here you can see how it looked before everything was built in here. Just have a temporary ramp up here and a temporary ramp down here. As you remember, this is a big circular build, circular staircase going up here. In the same way up here, this whole section and this whole tower is not even built yet. But it gives us a chance to look inside of this, so you can see how it looked at this stage in the build. Besides all the detail, I guess the main difference is that this is still not painted yet. It blends much more into the stone. Makes it really hard to actually see it. It doesn't stand out as much as it does once it's actually painted. I guess that is the main difference here. I also placed this cliff platform here because I had the intention to actually use it. I have a separate tower here or something along those lines to continue this whole build out to this section. Ended up scrapping that idea because I felt it became too big. And as you know, I'm using a much smaller tower here instead. The section down here is still not completed either. And this whole inside of this tower is just an empty shell, basically. You have no way of getting down into this section here either, because these stairs that are going down on the outside here is not built yet either. This is just my little teleportation bed, which I placed here before I started, just to be able to teleport between the different builds on this map. Later on I just demolished that and put the bed somewhere more suitable inside the build, once I get that far. This whole structure is a bit elaborate because, as you can see, there is every other pillar is a bit further out than the other, And that is based on how I made this, the pattern in which I used for this. And I need these pillars actually in order to be able to actually build this section in the center. Further in. But depending on which snap point I use for these, they either became a bit further out on these wooden thingies and further in on this pattern. So every wooden is further out and every non-wooden here, like this one, is further in. This detail is kept until the very end, but these inverted stairs here looks pretty cool, I think. Cannot do this unless you use no clip, but it's an interesting detail to invert stairs like this. Instead of just keeping in the regular way like I'm doing here. So this was the Waterfall temple. It was a very fun build to do, even though I was in a bit of a hurry due to the trailer that was coming out. I did some new things on this one. Some of it is old stuff that I've done before or similar stuff that I've done before, but the inclusion of the new pieces from the S Plus integration really made it fun to try new things and try to combine old techniques with the new materials. So I had a really good time. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found it interesting and hopefully helpful as well. Have a good one, and I see you next time.